Now, today we're going to be talking about something that has been causing a lot of conversations in these past few weeks. We'll be talking about the name change of PCOS to PMOS. And I know we just got started, but if that's the first time you're hearing that name change, I would love to know in the chat that's the first time you're hearing it. And I'll give you a little recap of what, or overview of what we're going to discuss. So we're going to be taking a look at, yes, what is this name change? What does it actually mean? Why the name change came about, and what it means for you as a woman, or if you're a male on this call, what does it mean for your female loved ones? How can you support them? So it's a very interesting topic because it this name change can help more persons who are undiagnosed with these undiagnosed become diagnosed, and also help persons take more action for their health and reveal questions to reveal answers to many of the questions or symptoms persons have been experiencing and not sure what is going on. All right, so we'll be talking about looking again at what it means for PCOS to be changed to PMOS, right? So again, my name is Dr. Chybar-Virgo. I am a medical doctor and also a holistic nutrition practitioner and wellness coach as well. And so I'm someone who like who encourages taking a holistic approach when it comes to your health. And this is one of the reasons I'm so excited to discuss this topic here of what it means for PCOS to be changed to PMOS, because it takes a more holistic approach. And as we go through, I'm going to ask you to have an open mind, or maybe you even have some aha moments as we're going through this. That's that makes sense. If you're someone who maybe have PCOS and you're experiencing these things, you realize or see some link as we go along. So I'll be doing this for a little bit, just answering some of the questions that persons have been given a lot. I've been getting a lot of recently. So why the name change from PCOS to PMOS? And to give an idea of what the name is, so PCOS is Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. PMOS is Polyendocrine Metabolic Ovarian Syndrome, right? And I'm going to break it down what each of that means as we go along. But first, why the name change? And one of the things as we're talking, I want to recognize is that this name change isn't because scientists suddenly discovered something new about the condition. No, it's just that for many years we have known that I'll call it PMOS from now on. So for years we have known that PMOS does involve more than the ovaries. So we know that it involves the hormones, the metabolic part, and the reproductive part. It's just that this discussion around changing the name came about after a study was done where they did a global review of 22,000 patients, and over the 10 years they realized that the name Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome just didn't describe accurately what's happening in the body. Because when you hear polycystic ovary, you may have recognized that maybe persons focus mainly on the reproductive part of the body, the ovaries, right? That you have to have a cyst to have to be diagnosed with it, or it's only the reproductive part of it that is when it comes to PCOS. But this name change helps person to realize now it's a broader picture. It's also a hormonal, metabolic aspect. It's a full body thing when it comes to PMOS. And so the concern now where we change the name is because that PCOS could have led to misunderstanding of what the illness is. Persons probably don't understand you when you're telling them about what you're going through. It may have led to delayed diagnosis and sometimes the incomplete care when you're trying to express what's going on. So now the shift is looking at the whole person, encourages more of the whole person just by that name change. So what does the PCOS actually mean, PMOS actually mean now? So as I mentioned, the name now reflects the fact that it is really a hormonal metabolic condition. So which means that it can also affect your insulin levels, inflammation that's going on in the body, hormones like your androgen levels, which is actually more like testosterone is an example of that. But it can also affect where your energy levels are, your mental health, your heart health, the reproductive health. So it's a lot of different things that can go on. And I'll give you an example of why it's so broad. So yes, as I mentioned, that the hormones can be imbalanced. like say testosterone. Now, when the testosterones are imbalanced, now it can affect ovulation. And when that ovulation doesn't occur regularly, we know the ovaries may not release the egg as expected, and that can cause irregular periods and fertility challenges. This is probably the most common symptoms that persons have heard about. Now, we know that hormones don't only affect reproduction, it can have influence hair growth, hair thinning, or it can cause oily skin, can cause acne that's hard to treat. It can affect your mood, your mental well-being, energy levels, metabolism, right? And to give you an idea what metabolism is, it's like how fast, for example, how your body converts food into energy. So if you have a slow metabolism, it means that you're burning calories at a slower rate. You're using the food at a slower rate then, and it can lead to storing it as fat, right? And so this, if you think about all of that, it can be the reason why many women experience symptoms such as low energy, cravings, weight gain, or difficulty losing weight. So when you look at the name of PMOS, it's telling the story of what it is. So first it was Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. No, it's polyendocrine, so polymultiple endocrine because hormones, and there's a lot of imbalance in the hormones. Metabolic, how is the body using and storing the energy, as I just spoke about. Ovarian, because yes, it is still reproductive. It's just not the only thing. And syndrome, right? Syndrome meaning it's a group of related symptoms and health issues. So like it's more than one thing that's going on. And so as we go along, if there's anything that you want me to go over, you can let me know, right? I'll be happy to go back. Right. So it's very important because a lot of time when we hear ovarian or PCOS, we think it means you have to have a cyst. And it does, while cyst is a big part of it, and you can have a cyst with PCOS, you don't need to have a cyst, and you don't need to have an ovarian cyst to be diagnosed with it. That's also something very important. And so this new name, PMOS, helped emphasize that, right? So persons are more aware and understand what that is. Overall, it's a lot of things going on when it comes to PMOS. So I'm going to ask you in the chat, do you think the name change actually matters? And you can put it in the chat as we go along. So I think it does matter. I think it plays a huge role because it's important that even though, if you want to think about it, like we're try and understand, it doesn't mean that the treatment suddenly change or that the medications immediately change, right? The lifestyle recommendations are here as well, right? Those still remain. But what changes is the framework. So instead of focusing only on the ovarian cyst, right, and reproductive symptoms, which is very common, you hear more about, oh, they have how are your periods, are they regular or not, any fertility challenges. Instead of focusing solely on that now, looking at a broader picture, what your metabolic health looks like, what is your cardiovascular risk look like, because having PMOS raises your risk for heart diseases, right? So like you can have high blood pressure, right? Vascular problems as well. There's a lot of different things it can do. It can also, like, what is your mental health like? Because it can cause mood disorder, like depression, anxiety, eating disorders. You also want to be looking at the signs of insulin resistance because it can increase your risk for prediabetes and diabetes. So overall, this new perspective can lead to better awareness. And that is why I think it matters so much. And again, I spoke about, when you are aware, when you recognize this now and you go in, you might see something and you say, these symptoms sound familiar. Let me go get checked out. It can mean that there's opportunity for earlier diagnosis as well. And I'm going to show you how important this is, the impact, because the study from the Lancet that came out said that 170 million women have PMOS, as like 1 in 8 women, and they estimate that approximately 70% of them are undiagnosed. Can you imagine that? 170 million people and 70% are undiagnosed. And I just told you how much have a health risk having PMOS increases so many different things, affects so many different things in the body. So can you imagine having an illness like that and not knowing, and then some things are underlying that's going? Can you imagine the illnesses that can pop up in your life now? But if you see the symptoms and you get in and you get diagnosed earlier, your doctor can check for certain things, check the heart, check the mental health, check the insulin, the diabetes things, right? So now you get diagnosed earlier, or you take preventative action to reduce your risk of developing these illnesses. An increased risk does not mean that you will get it. It means that you can take charge and take action in your life to reduce your risk, though. Having that knowledge helps you know what actions to take. So, what does this shift or in the name then reveal about some of the challenges women have experienced? Now, if you know someone who was diagnosed with PCOS or PMOS, right, then you might have heard some of the things they've maybe talked about, that they have these very high cravings, like sugar cravings, right? Their energy levels are low. They have energy crashes throughout the day. They have weight gain, right? And they have this unexplained weight gain, and then they have difficulty losing the weight, no matter they're trying really hard. Maybe even brain fog, or they're feeling moody, right? And feeling hungry soon after eating. So it's just like all these hormonal and metabolism problems are going on with them. So now, again, it helps you to answer certain questions. So yes, PMOS is one of the answers to why persons can be experiencing those symptoms. I mean, yes, there are other things that can cause those symptoms as well, but now it helps you to start thinking: it's now, maybe it's not a separate issue. Maybe it's the PMOS, and can give you a different approach on how you're going to handle this. So if you ever ask yourself, why do I constantly crave sugar? Why am I always tired? Why does losing weight seem harder for me than other people? This is something to consider. So again, it's opening doors for persons to maybe get some answers to questions that they've been asking themselves for many, many years. Now, I mentioned insulin resistance being very important as a part of the PMOS conversation. And some persons may understand what it is or may understand the severity of it, but I want to show why it's so important when it comes to PMOS. So, to give it doesn't always play again. Everybody is different. Some persons might develop resistance, some might not. But it's still important to be aware of it, that having PMOS does increase your risk for insulin resistance, which can also then increase your risk for prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. But to give an idea what it is, so when you think about insulin, it's also a hormone, right? You see that word hormone coming about a lot. That helps to move glucose from the bloodstream into the cells. And then when it goes into the cells, the body uses it for energy. Remember that metabolic thing I spoke about? However, in the PMOS now, the cells having some struggle to actually respond to that insulin. So they're having some problems there. Now, can't have all that sugar in the bloodstream, so the body responds by giving more insulin. And that high insulin now can cause a problem where it can cause hormonal imbalance and metabolic changes as well. I'm not going to go too in depth with it. I just want to give you an idea of what happens. But to give you an idea, that high insulin can cause that male hormone to be higher than it should be, worsening the ovulation and fertility problems, right? And it can also cause your sugar levels to be out of control. So you can see how this high insulin is similar to the PMOS. So it's like it's fueling each other and causing this vicious cycle. So again, having knowledge of what's going on with you and what is possible can give you ideas of what to look out for. And again, insulin resistance can contribute to some of the symptoms that is occurring. So again, that can contribute to the weight gain, the cravings, the fatigue, difficulty losing weight. So again, something to take a look at. Now here's a big one. Have you ever been told that because you have PCOS or PMOS, it means that you can never get pregnant? The answer to the question for you is many persons believe that if you were diagnosed with PMOS or PCOS, you cannot get pregnant. But that's not the truth. Now, having this condition, it's one of the most common causes of infertility because, irregular ovulation does make it harder to conceive. But more difficult doesn't mean that it's impossible. So it doesn't mean that because you're diagnosed with the illness that it means you're automatically going to be infertile. So many women with PMOS can actually go on to conceive naturally, right? And a lot of it has to do with the lifestyle changes, for example. Through weight loss alone, because having excess weight can worsen the symptoms of PMOS, including the reproductive symptoms. And so weight loss helps a lot with improving the chances of becoming fertile or conceiving. So better eating habits, for example, an anti-inflammatory diet, right? Eating a balanced meal, regular timing. Better sleep hygiene helps a lot with the hormone balance as well. Regular physical activity, stress levels. So that lifestyle changes can affect hormone balance and enhance the chances of conceiving. And of course, there are many medical treatments out there that are effective that you can also use to support infertility as well. So again, if you're someone who has PMOS and wants to have children, it does not mean that you've become infertile. Let's have a discussion with your doctor and they can give you the options available. They can review, if the lifestyle change that need adjusting or maybe any medical intervention. Okay. But what if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you don't want to have children? So should you care if you don't want children? I want to see in the chat for this one. What are your thoughts on this? We've talked a lot about PMOS. So I want to see what are your thoughts on this. If you don't want children, should you care about the condition if you're diagnosed with it? So type your answer in the chat. So whether or not somebody wants children, I believe, and I think you'll agree with me, they still deserve a holistic approach. Support for their energy levels, their metabolic health, their mental health, the long-term disease prevention, and overall quality of life. Because remember I told you, it's not just a reproductive illness. It affects your hormones, the mental health, the overall quality of life. So, yeah. And I agree with Ms. Prasad that yes, you should care about it, right? So that is a very important question to address. And I'll give you the illnesses. I did mention a few of the illnesses that PMOS increases the risk for, but I'll give you some. I'm just going to give you another because I missed a few earlier. So I told about the type 2 diabetes, the heart disease, the cardiovascular disease. It also can cause sleep apnea, right? Anxiety, depression, eating disorders, even uterine cancer as well can be increased risk for. The acne, the hair thinning, the excess hair growth on the body. And so whether or not you want to have children, it doesn't only affect whether or not you can have children. It affects other parts of the body. And so when you are aware or know about the condition, it now allows you to take action or take charge of your health too, right? It helps you and your healthcare team to monitor these risks early so you can take action. Because prevention will always be better than cure, right? The last thing you'd want is to pick up something after you've gotten it or after complications have occurred. So being aware helps you to take charge, take action or get screened for certain things earlier. Can lifestyle changes actually make a difference? And yes, it can. Huge difference. I already talked about how lifestyle changes can occur and can help with the fertility. But it can also help with so many different things with the hormonal balance, the metabolic symptoms are as well as the reproductive. So it plays a huge role. So when it comes to lifestyle changes, we're talking about nutrition, better eating habits, being physically active. So when we talk about nutrition, for example, for the lifestyle changes, right? So we're looking at, ask your question for nutrition, for example. Are you meeting your daily servings of fruit and veggies? Are you meeting your roughly 30 grams of fiber per day? And also if you're having PMOS, that 25 grams is recommended for women, for example. However, a person with PMOS, we should recommend that it's higher than that. An average person only gets 15 grams of fiber per day. That's something to look at, right? And the reason I'm spending so much time on it is that nutrition plays a huge role on your metabolism, your hormonal health. So does physical activity. Are you engaging in regular physical activity? Which, for example, muscles is very good when it comes to insulin resistance. So the more muscles you're building, it helps to get better insulin um, response in the body, right? That also can help with cardiac health as well. And I told you before that cardiac health is a big issue when it comes to PMOS too. Proper sleep hygiene. What's your sleep hygiene like? Let me tell you, you can eat good, you can exercise well, but if you're not sleeping properly, those hormones are going to be out of whack and very, very, very much in like unbalanced, right? And so sleep is a huge thing when you take a look at, and so is your stress level. And I can tell you, if you're not sleeping well, you're not going to eat well, you're not going to exercise, your mood going to be rough. So it's all just coming to intertwine. And so again, and lifestyle, and that's why lifestyle is such a huge approach. When you go to the doctor and if they diagnose you with it, the question the first thing they're going to start talking about is lifestyle changes. And for those who want more in depth, because we did do a previous presentation on PCOS and lifestyle changes, like when you looked at the food, the sleep, the stress, etc., things that can disrupt the hormones. It's on YouTube. I'll share the link after the presentation for those who are interested. They can take a look at it. All right. But one thing I want you to take away from this when it comes to the lifestyle is that people are going to take advantage of the name change with the PMOS or the PCOS, the PMOS, right? So I want you to be cautious that if you're trying to lose weight, be cautious that you're not engaging in any highly restrictive diets or any quick fixes, because a real the best approach is one that is realistic and sustainable and personalized. Meaning, if it's restrictive, you cannot sustain it. If it's not fit to you, if it's not like fit to make into your lifestyle, you may have a busy lifestyle. You may be on the road a lot, and so one on all sides. It's not a one size fits all thing. Everybody is different. You need something that matches your lifestyle, your likes as well, and you're unique. So that's something to take into consideration as well. We all know that we should eat better. We should exercise more, right? We know that. Oops. We all know we should eat better, exercise more, sleep better. But what is the problem that we are having? Can anyone tell me? The problem we are having is that we know what to do, but when it comes to putting it into action, that is the challenge. And you're not alone with that. Many persons are struggling with applying it into their life, right? And it's something that is common. I mean, we all know what to do, just how do we do it and how do we stay consistent? And the challenge, I mentioned some of that, is that when you have a busy schedule and you're worrying about getting to work, getting the kids to work or get kids to school, meal prepping, exercising, doing this, doing that, so much on your mind, the sleep, the stress, everything just goes through the door. Family responsibility, work demands, emotional eating, stress, and conflicting information online. Let's not forget that one, right? So many different things conflicting online that it makes you wonder, where do you start? What do I do? And that's where the struggle comes in. I see someone say fast. I see someone mentioning that PMOS, that sleeping is not easy. It is something that is common, but it doesn't mean that you have to go through that. Sometimes it's just looking through, having a sit down and looking through what can be causing that sleeping challenges. Maybe it could be setting up a sleep hygiene. It could be that so there's some nutrient deficiencies there. It could be something else that, so there are different things. And just sitting down and having that conversation, as I mentioned, it's a unique and personalized approach to help persons to get better into a better place. Because you might want to sleep more, but if something else is going on, saying I'm going to sleep early is not the answer. You need a little bit more of a guidance there. So we know that this is where support comes very, very important when it comes to any illness. And as I mentioned here, PMOS itself is a huge illness. support is very much needed, and it helps you take information and actually put it into action. And I can give you an idea what support can look like. So let's say you're sitting down with a coach, right? And you're telling them what your life looks like, your responsibilities, your busy schedule looks like. And you and that coach sit down, and that coach helps you personalize a plan that fits your life, meaning they can figure out by talking to you how to fit exercise into your life consistently, right? How to create that meal plan for you that helps to meet your unique needs, right? It can help to remove the guesswork by providing that exercise routine for you. So you have one less thing to worry about, because now you're not guessing what should I do, what should I eat, what should I exercise, etc., etc. A support can look like having accountability partner, having someone checking on you to see how things are going. Because motivation is only in the beginning. It's hard to stay motivated when you have so much thing going on. And you look how many symptoms that can be going on. But when you have someone, that accountability, that community, or someone motivating, checking in on you, you feel support. It makes it a little bit easier for you to stay on track. And that's one of the things that we do inside our body transformation program. We help persons move beyond knowing what to do to actually building the habits, so it stays more long term. So it looks like having support around nutrition, better eating habits, consistent with exercise, just overall wellness. That's something you can do simple, it's sustainable, it's personalized to you, and to help and it's realistic for it to help you feel better and get results. So if, for example, you're someone who maybe just want to have a sit down with a coach, so maybe you want to have a sit down and just talk, maybe it's nutrition you want to talk about, or lifestyle, or maybe it's leadership. So I'll share the email in the chat. Right, but support for those who are as well can be very important as well, is a body transformational challenge, whether it's to lose weight or to just to improve your eating habits and actually become consistent with exercise. So this is what our 21-day program looks like, right? It's something that involves everything I mentioned, that one-to-one personalized coaching, right? The personalized meal plan, exercise routine, as well as some nutrition guidance too. And you can also get some nutritional products that will help to fuel your results as well. You get access to everything I just mentioned, plus access to our app as well. That app has the exercise plans in there you can do at home or in the gym. You still get that one-to-one coaching and that community chat and accountability. It's an incredible program for persons who are looking for support, who have a busy schedule and need quick exercises, quick meals, something that can fit their plan, and also support the health and wellness journey. Now, that was the presentation for today, right? I really am happy that we got to take a look at this PCOS to PMOS discussion, because I think it just helps person recognize that a holistic approach is a amazing a way that you are a whole person. You're not crazy when you're saying you're feeling all these symptoms. This is not you. Why do I feel this way? Now am I so moody? Am I getting this? You're not going crazy, right? You know, you kind of get some answers to the questions you've been having. So again, I want to say thank you for joining. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to put it in the chat.